Hi there, this is Maddie from Maddie's Custom Scale. And what I thought I'd do is give you a little bit of a tour of a weathered interior that I think I'm pretty much finished with and ready to assemble the rest of the car. But I thought good opportunity while it's out just to show you some of the things that have been done and maybe just explain some of the techniques that I've used and see if there's something that you'd want to know more about. Maybe I can do a specific tutorial, um, but yeah, let me go through and explain what I've done, and I'll try and do it in sequence so that it kind of makes sense. So probably the first thing I'll do is I'll just get this skateboard out the way. It's the one removable piece, and let me just explain some of the things. So when you build a weathered vehicle, or at least when I do, I try and not stick to the kit pieces the way they are normally. And so what I'll do is you can see here I've swapped out the front seats, and I've just used some maybe old tired, well, the effect I've given is old and tired, but they're like an older version of a Recaro bucket seat. And then for the back seat, I've kept it the same, but I actually heat it up. You can see maybe here, I've heated up where the passengers would sit and just pushed in on them once they were soft and created a little bit of a dented look. You can kind of see it, but not much because of all the other things, but if I didn't have junk on the back seat, you'd see it a little bit better. And once I've got that, I thought I'd find ways to make the foam come through, and so very simple technique is just the chipping technique. A foam like sort of colour as a base, hairspray or the chipping fluid over the top, and then the car's actually a light blue, so I've painted the interior matching light blue, but what I've added is at different times different levels of black into the airbrush so that it started to add a little bit of a darkness to some parts of it, and so I'd shade in areas to give more of a worn out look, and then a much sort of darker tone for the carpet, but I kept all the same blue as the base color. Yeah. The next thing I did was, obviously I painted the front buckets a grey color, and they are a black molded plastic, and so what I did is I scratched through some of the grey paint to give it a look like it's that crinkled or that worn out leather with some cracking in it. And then what you'll see here is some black tape, which is athletic tape, painted black. I'd cut it into strips beforehand, and I've just placed it in areas where the seats would normally wear out, and so it gives that look like someone's just stuck some tape on it to just get by, but it's pretty raggedy looking. Yeah. The next thing, if I talk about the wood grain trim, so this kit actually didn't come with wood grain trim, and so I've got another video specifically where I show the process of how I got that wood grain trim with the original kit decals. So you can click on that and go a little bit further, but short story is, took the decals, painted them a certain way, got a wood grain effect, and then stuck them on. Same with the door trim decals, so it all sort of matched. You can see that strip along there is not actually black, it's actually wood grain. Yeah, very subtle, but you can see that the way we've done it, or the way I've done it, I should say, it's started to peel, and it gives that effect that the veneer is starting to just distort, peel away from the rest, maybe under the sun or whatever. Yeah. Next, you can obviously see there's a lot of washers. So I've used a few different types of washers, but funnily enough, the main one that I used on this build was actually the panel line from Tamiya. Put that in a lot of places, and then I also used some Amamig washes, and then just some diluted paints as well, just to get a few different tones and looks. And even though I went over most of the areas, I did concentrate on some specific areas, so it looks like some staining or some dirt that has stuck to the interior over time. Panel line over, actually a few layers going over some of these grill elements and the air conditioning ducts you can see just under there. Yeah. What was next? Maybe I've got a little piece of rope here in the wheel well, and that is literally a piece of, in the old days I had an extruder type 3D printer, and this was just a failed print that I stored that kind of looks like rope, and just gave it a little bit of a paint, a little bit of a weather, and threw it in there. There is a bit of 3D printed parts on here, to be honest, so I'll go through some of them. These sunglasses are not 3D printed. So they're actually out of a Tamiya accessory kit, I think it is. A set of sunglasses. And to get that old school sort of reflective look, this is really just a flip paint that I did a couple of clear coats over as well. So if it was a bigger piece, you'd see it flip from blue to green and probably to something else. But with the clear coat over it, you get that sort of almost frog skin look. I hope. Yeah, maybe from a distance you might get that look. Depends on the light that hits it. Seat belts. So there's 3-piece seat belts on here. You can, and they're 3D printed. So where you plug the belt in or the clip itself, and then down in this corner, I'll see if I can get some light. Maybe it's better on the other side. There, just in that little corner there, you can see where the belt starts. Those are 3D printed. Designed them myself and just painted them black and a little bit of detailing. The red is with a Posca, pretty straightforward. The belt material itself is again athletic tape, painted in the same blue as the rest of the car. Glued in place and just weathered as well. The Ghetto Blaster, 3D printed as a one-piece. Very simple painting, a lot of panel line to bring out the details. The crate is 3D printed, and it's something I've had a long time. I think Slowly's models designed it, but someone else printed it for me before I had a printer, so that was actually Grubby's Chop Shop over in Australia. Printed it for me and sent it over in a bag with a bunch of other things, and that was a few years ago, but it just sort of sat there waiting for something, a project for it to go into. The spray cans were kind of a last minute. I had the crate on the back seat, but I couldn't work out what I wanted to put in, so I was thinking maybe it could be some records, but it didn't really make sense. So I went with spray cans. The spray cans are actually quite small, and they're the last thing. I only printed them this morning. So I did a few different versions with the cap on, cap off, with the nozzle on, nozzle off. And once they were all painted silver, I just used some different coloured Poscas, the Posca pens, to give the tops a colour. But then even when there wasn't a top, you can see the nozzles have got some, drippage from the paint that's come out, and that just gives it another sort of layer of effect. Shoes pretty random. It's meant to be sort of a bit of random junk in the car, and that is more or less it, to be honest. I did use a chrome pen, and I've stopped using the Molotow pens, chrome pens. I've not been that keen on them. And they start to dull pretty easy and take a while to dry, etc. But the Scale Modelers Supply, I've got a chrome pen these days, and this it dries better, and it definitely gives that chrome finish a little bit more distinct. So I've used that in a few places just for a quick highlight. Yeah. So that's the interior. I think the only last thing that maybe I can show is the skateboard, because the skateboard is pretty cool. It is 3D printed as well. So if you guys don't have 3D printers, or you hate the fact that all these people are building things 3D printed, sorry, but I think they're still pretty cool. And so what I did with these skateboards, or to get these skateboards, I designed it as a multi-piece. So the board is a piece, the trucks are a piece, and the wheels are individual pieces. The boards themselves, I used some old NASCAR decals, and I've got more details again in another video in my library, so check it out. And then it was just sandpaper on the top, yeah, and that gives it a kind of pretty good feel. And I thought that would be cool with the graffiti stuff. It's just whatever, someone who's just doing stuff that maybe shouldn't do, being a little bit of an urban outlaw. That's the theme that I've gone with this interior. So let me know what you think. Let me know what I should have done different. And if there's a technique you want me to do something specific on as a video, let me know and I'll see what I can do on a future build. But now it's time to wrap this interior up and get the rest of the build assembled. Yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.